Hello there. It is Tuesday the 4th of October 2016. It's time now for yet more Regressive News. The show that... I didn't come up with an opening thing. The show that makes you worried about the future because the present is pretty bleak. That'll do. Let's begin with the BBC. Now you remember a few months ago I reported on 1 in 6 BBC stars must be gay or lesbian or disabled by 2020, says new staff hiring guidelines. Because apparently you can't be prejudiced or discriminatory against straight, white, able-bodied men. This is called reverse sexism and reverse racism, which apparently isn't real sexism or racism, even though it obviously is. Well, isn't it great that the UK taxpayer is funding the BBC? Right, so now they've actually started firing people for being white and male, because if you're white, you're just not right. So BBC fires award-winning comedian for being a white male. Maybe they literally said to him, "You're fucking a white male!" Now allow me to be the first person on YouTube to re-edit that sentence so that it doesn't sound like he's saying that the person is having sex with a white male. You're a fucking white male! Thank you, that makes slightly more sense now. Let's move on. So this is from The Telegraph. Comedian John Holmes claims he was axed from BBC Radio 4 for being white and male. The broadcaster, who has appeared on the Now Show for 18 years, was contacted by the corporation and claims he was told by bosses that they were recasting it with more women and diversity. The 47-year-old tweeted the news this week, poking fun at Jeremy Clarkson by saying he didn't even punch a producer. Speaking about the BBC's decision not to renew his contract, he wrote in the Mail, "Should I, as a white male, through no fault of my own, be fired from my job because I am white and a man? Yes. Also, you need to apologise for slavery and the history of the British Empire. And as we know, no other race ever has ever kept slaves. Please see the historical record of every other race on the planet to understand just how many slaves the white people have kept in comparison to other races." I mean, I know it's a big ask, and yes, we'll have to agree to draw a line under much of what has gone on before, but what if we're all just people judged on merit? Call me crazy, but what if regardless of skin colour or anything else, the best candidate gets the job? Not at the Beeb. Meritocracy be damned. I'm not even asking for mine back. That's not the point. I just wonder what with all the pressure about being seen to get it right, we're actually getting it a bit wrong. More than a bit there, I'm afraid. He added, "I don't think that discrimination of any kind is ever positive. However well-intentioned everyone thinks they are, because someone is always going to lose out based on something they can't help. This is the major problem with affirmative action. Personally, I want equal opportunities for all, irrespective of who or what they are. So maybe we should open up the debate." Sorry dude, you're a fucking white male. The regressives have a very parochial view on the world. They only ever look at things through the Western lens. They don't actually realise that globally speaking, Caucasians are the minority race. And their birth rates are extremely low, our numbers are dwindling, and also we're giving all our money, jobs, welfare and educational opportunities to minority immigrants in our own countries because racism, apparently. You actually look at this graph, so the minorities, globally speaking, by race, and apparently white people, who make up a small percentage of this, are the majority. I wonder if the left likes to redefine words and language, is now trying to change minority and majority to mean the opposite. It's kind of like when they change the meaning of literally to figuratively. Just wondering. It also doesn't matter white people are actually the least racist people on earth, as evidenced by the fact they give all their money, jobs, welfare and education opportunities away to immigrants. And the reality is, when you look at the West and how self-hating white people are, we talk about white privilege and it's all the BuzzFeed videos of so many white people hating on themselves. It's a very easy thing to do. It'd be very difficult to walk down the street in any Western country with a t-shirt that says white and proud. Every other race could do that. You'd be considered a neo-Nazi skinhead if you were to do something like that. A total fascist, of course. But of course, white people are the only race to ever have kept slaves, right? And we should all be guilty for the sins of our ancestors. We can be sure that once we're officially the minorities in our own countries, the majority-minority groups will repay us the favour. After all, things are working out just great in South Africa. White South Africans, fearing for their lives, ask EU for right to return. White South Africans are asking the European Union to give them the right to return home after claims they are facing ethnic cleansing. And that's something that, it seems, the far left, predominantly white people in Europe and America seem to want to do to themselves. On that bright note, let's move on to the next story. Female chess players forced to wear hijab as governing body awards world championships to Iran. The world's top female chess players have reacted with horror after being told they must compete at next year's world championship wearing a hijab. And the response from feminists on this issue has been... Okay, within hours of Iran being revealed as its host country, the prestigious event was plunged into crisis as it emerged players taking part face arrest if they don't cover up. In response, grandmasters lined up to say they would boycott the 64-player knockout and accuse the game's scandal-hit governing body, FIDE, of failing to stand up for women's rights. FIDE's Commission for Women's Chess, meanwhile, called on participants to respect cultural differences and accept the regulations. Respect, accept, tolerate the intolerant. Isn't that the story of the West? Love the thing that you don't love. Love the thing that hates what you stand for. Just simply drop all of your principles, everything that you believe in, and accept the cultural worldview of someone else with completely antithetical views on women's rights, on gays, on non-believers, on... I could go on here, but just simply roll over and take it. To be fair, what do you expect? You know, they put it in Iran. This was Iran in the 1960s. This is Iran today. Hijabs have been mandatory for women in Iran since the Islamic Revolution of 1979, and the strict laws enforced by the country's morality police. Any woman found not wearing one in public places faces arrest, a fine, or public admonishment. However, players claim by awarding the event to Iran FIDE is turning a blind eye to sexual discrimination. Now, the US women's champion, she raised concerns about players' safety in the Islamic Republic. She said, "It is absolutely unacceptable to host one of the most important women's tournaments in a venue where, to this day, women are forced to cover up with a hijab. I understand and respect cultural differences, but failing to comply can lead to imprisonment and women's rights are being severely restricted in general. It does not feel safe for women from around the world to play here. I am honoured and proud to have qualified to represent the United States in the Women's World Championship, but if the situation remains unchanged, I will most certainly not participate in this event." The US Department of State has issued a warning about travelling to Iran, saying citizens risk being unjustly imprisoned or kidnapped because of their nationality. Former Pan-American champion Carla Heredia from Ecuador added, "No institution, no government, nor a women's world chess championship should force women to wear or take out a hijab. This violates all of what sports means. Sport should be free of discrimination by sex, religion, and sexual orientation. The obligation to use hijab is one issue. Another one is that women can't share room with a male if she's not married to him. So the question remains, what would happen if women chess players want to share the room with a male coach, or if women chess players want to prepare for the game visiting the coach's room?" FIDE held a smaller Grand Prix event in Iran earlier this year where female players were required to wear the hijab. The Telegraph understands several players were left angry about having to use the scarf. Nigel Short, the British former world title contender, said, "These are people from all sorts of backgrounds going to this. There will be atheists, Christians, all sorts of people. If you are deeply Christian, why would you want to wear a symbol of Islamic oppression of women?" Susan Polgar, the Hungarian-born American Grandmaster, the chair of FIDE's Commission for Women's Chess, responded by defending the federation and saying women should respect cultural differences. In other words, they should conform, basically, or don't bother playing. She said, "I have traveled to nearly 60 countries. When I visited different places with different cultures, I like to show my respect, but yeah, okay. So I'm not going to go to any of these countries because I don't believe in sacrificing my fundamental human rights to anyone. I like the West the way it is. Oh, okay, I don't like where it's going, but I won't go to these places. And I see people going on holidays to countries like these and in the Middle East and what have you. And I'm kind of thinking, why are you going there? You know, there could be a coup, there could be some, you know, another revolution of some kind. You know, there's all sorts of issues that happen to Westerners over there. You can step out of line and say or do something that, you can do here quite freely, but over there not so much, and get in trouble for it. So when people say, yeah, look, I go over there, I respect the laws of the land. Okay, here's the thing. I don't respect shitty laws. So I can disrespect laws in the West, of course. There's plenty of them that are complete bullshit. If the law makes sense, like don't kill somebody, I can get on board with that. Right? Don't steal, I can get on board with that. Those laws I respect completely. All right? They directly line up with my own moral principles. So it's not that people say, oh, I go to these countries and I respect the laws. You don't respect the laws. How could you respect these fucking laws? You fear the consequences of breaking the laws. Okay? Fearing the consequences and respecting the laws are two completely different things. Don't conflate the two. So this woman is talking complete shit. I personally would have no issues with wearing a headscarf. Just convert to Islam then, as long as it is the same to all players. I believe the organisers provide... You have absolutely no idea what the headscarf actually means. I cannot speak on behalf of others, but from my own personal conversations with various players in the past year, they have no real issues with it. Yeah. Bullshit. If any player has a problem with it, she can and should voice her opinion to the Commission for Women's Chess or FIDE, as we can address it in our next meeting. Just strike already. FIDE is already reeling after its president, the eccentric multi-millionaire... All these governing bodies, FIFA and everything else, they're all like full of authoritarians at the very top, aren't they? Alright, his name is basically... Kirsten whatever, was placed on a US sanctions list for alleged business dealings with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's regime. Is it any surprise then that this kind of stuff is happening? Anyway, it's a very depressing story altogether, and I hope the women stand up and don't conform to it. Let's move on to the next story. Angela Merkel is having a bit of a rough time of it lately. Her party lost heavily in the last elections in Berlin, and now Merkel must go. Hundreds protest in Dresden on German Unity Day. Several hundred protesters have gathered in the German city of Dresden to protest against Chancellor Merkel and the president as they celebrate Unity Day in the city. Footage posted on social media showed the protesters braving rainy weather outside the Church of Our Lady, blowing whistles and shouting "traitors" and "get out," as well as "Merkel has to go." One side referred to Merkel's dictatorship. Many of the protesters are from the far-right patriotic Europeans against the Islamization of the West, better known as Pegida. Apparently Dresden is the birthplace of Pegida. A total of 11 demonstrations are planned throughout the city on Monday. The discontent aimed at Merkel comes as little surprise, with the Chancellor's approval ratings hovering at a 5-year low. A major point of contention among many Germans is Merkel's open-door policy for refugees fleeing war and persecution. More than 1 million asylum seekers reached the country last year as part of the biggest refugee crisis since World War II. The area surrounding Dresden has seen far-right violence against migrants and refugees since the influx began, with riots and arson attacks taking place in other towns in the state of Saxony, of which Dresden is the capital. Security has been tightened for the 3 days of events, marking 26 years since Germany's reunification, specifically after unknown perpetrators set fire to 3 police cars in Dresden on Saturday night. The final story confirms that the West is indeed giving way to feelings and fiction and delusion rather than facts. Student officially changes his personal pronoun to His Majesty on campus roster. I henceforth shall be referred to as His Majesty Grant Strobel. I encourage all students to go onto Wolverine Access and insert the identity of their dreams. On Tuesday, top administrators at the University of Michigan Ann Arbor announced a new campus-wide policy that allows students to select their own designated personal pronoun, informing the campus community they are expected to adhere to these preferences. Box! I can't deal with this anymore. Good luck! The University of Michigan is committed to fostering an environment of inclusiveness. Consistent with this value, the university has created a process for students to designate pronouns with the university and have those pronouns reflected on class rosters this fall. This won't be abused. The university stated to students and professors in an email, a copy of which was obtained by the College Fix. The university defines a designated personal pronoun as a pronoun an individual chooses to identify with and expects others to use when referencing them. He, she, him, his, Z, etc. As a result of this new policy, Professors are now expected to call students by their personally designated pronoun, even if it has no basis in their biological sex. Faculty members play a vital role in ensuring all of our community feels valued, respected, and included. These changes give students the ability to tell the university what pronoun they identify with or use in our communications and interactions with them. I gotta wonder, this whole select your own pronouns and gender neutral stuff and non-gender, non-binary, has this ever occurred at any other point in history? I mean, people have said, yeah, we're witnessing the collapse and degeneracy of the West with all this kind of crap. But I have to wonder if we're witnessing the most cataclysmic collapse of an empire, of a civilization in history. I mean, all civilizations collapse eventually, and even ours, but I wonder if ours is like the biggest, most ridiculously absurd, crazy one. Because this is complete and utter madness. How come psychologists aren't coming out of the woodwork? And psychiatrists and coming out and calling this for what it is? Asking about and correctly using someone's designated pronoun is one of the most basic ways to show your respect for their identity and to make them feel like a special frickin' snowflake and cultivate an environment that respects all gender identities. Frickin' marketing speak. If you make a mistake and use the wrong pronoun, beat yourself with your own shoes. You can acknowledge that you made a mistake and go to room 101 for more re-education and use the correct pronoun next time. Students are not only allowed to choose from one of several pre-selected pronouns, they can also write in their own designated personal pronoun. Oh God, I can't deal with this. Designated pronouns will automatically populate. This is, oh God, and any kid that buys into this, any child that is raised, this is coming after your kids in kindergarten and in primary school and everything else, and then in high school. It's child abuse when this comes in. Please, parents, know what your kids are being taught in the curriculum. Please understand. Oh God, rosters pulled from other systems will not have designated pronouns listed. With that, Grant Strobel, conservative student, he's obviously trolling, I assume he is, and chairman of the Young Americans for Freedom Board of Governors, decided to change his preferred pronoun to His Majesty in an attempt to make the point that this policy has no basis in reality, and fair play to him. Trolls are going to come out, and this is what trolls should be doing when trolls are doing a good job. In an interview with the College Fix, Strobel said, "I have no problem with students asking to be identified a certain way, almost like someone named Richard who would like to be called Dick. It is respectful to make a reasonable effort to refer to students in the way they prefer." However, he added that he does have a problem when the university institutionalizes the use of pronouns that are completely arbitrary and may possibly sanction people for referring to someone different from their preference. Now, this is actually happening in Canada, where very soon, if you do not accept that, if a man goes in and says, "Yeah, I'm a woman," Lauren Southern did this today, went to a doctor's office, just simply put her hair in a bun and wore a baseball cap and said, "I'm a man. That's it. I'm a man now." The doctor said, "Yeah, I certify you as a man." Just a GP's visit. Then she went into an office to get her ID and said, "I want to be referred to as a man." Got a new ID. And now very soon, if you watch the video, I'll include the link in the description, it's going to be illegal to disagree with that. Nobody is willing to come out and disagree with this because they're afraid of losing their jobs. Strobel continued, "So I henceforth shall be referred to as His Majesty, Grant Strobel. I encourage all UM students to go onto Wolverine Access, which is the system they use, and insert the identity of their dreams." Well done, Your Majesty. People can tweet their new identity with the hashtag UM Pronoun Challenge. And so began the demise of the Western world. Oh God. Anyway, if you'd like to support my work, you can do so in numerous different ways. You can subscribe to Computing Forever. You can share the crap out of this video. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook and Minds, and all those links to my social portals are below. And of course, you can support me on Patreon, link below in the description, which is massively appreciated and really helps to keep the show ticking along. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.